Have you ever tried to read a corporate financial report? I mean, really read one. It can feel like trying to decipher a secret code. But hidden inside all that jargon is an amazing story about how a company like Netflix actually works. So today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're cracking the code together, turning their latest report into a story that's simple, clear, and honestly, pretty fascinating.
All right, let's jump in. Here's our game plan. First, we'll figure out what this report even is. Then, we're going to follow the money, how Netflix makes its billions, and maybe more importantly, where all that cash goes. We'll finish up with a quick financial health check and pull it all together for the big picture takeaway. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll see Netflix in a totally new way.
Okay, first things first, let's talk about the document we're looking at. It's the key to understanding pretty much any big public company out there. It's called a Form 10Q. You can think of it like a company's official, legally required report card that comes out every 3 months. We're digging into Netflix's report for the quarter that ended on September 30th, 2025. So yeah, this is the absolute freshest look we can get at the health of their business.
So now that we know what we're looking at, let's get to the good stuff. Let's follow the money. This next part is all about one simple question. How much money is actually flowing into Netflix from all of our subscriptions around the world? So this is called the Statement of Operations. And yeah, I know, it looks like a giant wall of numbers, but the idea behind it is super simple. It's basically just a household budget, but for a massive global company. It's a list of all the money that came in and all the money that went out. That's it. And after you boil everything down, it all comes down to this one single number. In just 3 months, Netflix brought in over $11.5 billion. Just think about that for a second. That is a staggering amount of money, and it's all fueled by us hitting that subscribe button. So where on earth does all that cash come from? Well, this breakdown is really interesting. The US and Canada still make up the biggest piece of the pie, no surprise there, at 44%. But what's really amazing is how global this company has become. Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, that's EMEA, bring in almost a third of all the money. It's a truly global operation. Okay, so we've established they're making an incredible amount of money. The next logical question has to be, where does it all go? Let's flip the coin over and investigate where they spend it all. This right here, this is the biggest expense on the entire report. It's called cost of revenues, and it's over $6 billion. Basically, this is what it costs Netflix to just deliver Netflix to you. It's the shows, the movies, the servers that stream them, the whole shebang. And it's more than half of all the money they make. And if you dig down into that $6 billion number, you find it's almost all about one thing: content. The thousands of shows and movies we scroll through, that is the engine of this entire business. And producing that engine is incredibly, incredibly expensive. We can even get more specific. Of that $6 billion, $4 billion is for something with a super boring name: content amortization. Okay, stay with me, because it's actually pretty cool. Think of it like this. When Netflix makes a huge show like Stranger Things, they spread that massive cost over the years they think people will be watching it. So that $4 billion, that's the slice of their entire library's cost they used up this quarter. It is literally the price tag for keeping all of us glued to our screen. Of course, content isn't the only thing they spend money on. They dropped nearly $800 million on marketing, over $850 million on all the tech and engineers that keep the app from crashing, and another $458 million on just running the company. But check this out. This is the kind of stuff I love finding. Buried in the report is this one-time expense of $619 million just to settle a tax problem in Brazil. See? These reports are full of little stories.
Okay, so we've seen the money coming in and the money going out for the last 3 months. Now, let's zoom out and do a quick health check on the company's overall financial foundation. We're moving from the budget to what's called the balance sheet. The idea here is actually really, really simple. It's a snapshot in time. On one side, you have assets. That's everything the company owns that has value. On the other side, you have liabilities. That's everything the company owes to somebody else. At the end of the day, we're just asking, do they own more than they owe? So this is the grand total of everything Netflix owns. Their total assets are worth just under $55 billion. But what exactly is that? Is it all cash in the bank, buildings, servers? Well, the biggest piece of it is probably not what you think. And this right here, this is one of the most important things to understand about Netflix. Their biggest asset isn't the billions in cash they have. It's not their fancy offices.
The single most valuable thing Netflix owns, by a long shot, is the content itself.
That is the value of their content assets on the books. Over $32 billion. Think about that. That number is the financial value of every Netflix original, every movie they've licensed, every single show in their global library. It makes up nearly 60% of everything they own.
Okay, now let's look at the other side of the page. This is what Netflix owes. Their total liabilities are $29 billion. So that's good news for their health check, right? They own $55 billion and they only owe $29 billion. But where does that debt even come from? Well, a giant piece of what they owe is long-term debt. Almost $15 billion in money they've borrowed. So why did they borrow all that money? For the most part, they borrowed it to fund that massive $32 billion content library we were just talking about. See the cycle? They borrow money to create the asset that drives the entire business. All right, we've seen the money coming in, the money going out, what they own and what they owe. So let's put it all together. What's the final verdict? What did our investigation really tell us about Netflix? So what does this all boil down to? It shows us Netflix's core strategy, their big gamble. They are borrowing billions of dollars to build a giant fortress of content, a library so valuable it becomes their #1 asset. And the craziest part? It's working. After paying for everything, they were still left with over $2.5 billion in pure profit in just 90 days. It's a high-stakes balancing act for sure, but right now it's a very, very profitable one. And that really leaves us with a huge question for the future. We've decoded the numbers for today, and they show a powerful, profitable company that's making this enormous bet on content. But with more streaming competitors than ever, the next chapter in this financial story, well, that's still being written. Thanks for cracking the code with me today.